I saw a closed, transparent bag, tied shut, and inside were 4 small, white, suffocating kittens, seemingly lifeless in a desolate mountain wilderness. I always have that scene in my mind, and it will shock you too. Please subscribe and comment, "I love cats," and where you are watching us from. By doing so little, we make a big difference. A subscribe, a comment, is the same as making a donation, because the video reaches more hearts, more eyes and ears, and we raise awareness for an entire population. The raw, untamed majesty of the Himalayas stretched before us, an awe-inspiring panorama of jagged, ice-crowned peaks, ancient groaning glaciers, and vast silent valleys that plunged into ethereal mists. The air, thin and utterly devoid of moisture, bit at any exposed skin, a constant, stinging reminder of the extreme altitude we now inhabited, and elevation where the very act of breathing became a conscious, laborious effort. For 2 days, our 4-person climbing team, myself, Ethan, my seasoned climbing partner, Liam, a man whose face was a roadmap of mountain experience, Chloe, our vibrant and fiercely determined rope mate, and Noah, the youngest and ever-optimistic spirit of our group, had pushed relentlessly upwards. We had left the lush, oxygen-rich foothills far behind, ascending into a world of rock, ice, and sky. Our objective wasn't a record-breaking summit or a quest for glory, but rather a challenging traverse of a lesser-known ridge, an adventure designed to test our physical limits, forge deeper bonds of camaraderie, and immerse ourselves in the purest, most elemental form of wilderness. It was a pilgrimage, a profound reset for the soul, away from the clamor and concrete of civilization, a quest for the quiet wisdom that only the high mountains can offer. Liam, with his weather-beaten face and eyes that held the wisdom of 1,000 mountain sunsets, led the way, his ice axe striking a steady, rhythmic cadence against the compacted snow and hard blue ice. His experience was our anchor, his decisions our guide. Chloe, vibrant in her neon green jacket, a defiant splash of color against the monochrome landscape, followed closely, her crampons biting into the ice with focused precision. Her determination was palpable, an infectious energy that kept us all pushing forward. Noah, ever the joker, usually quick with a witty remark or a light-hearted anecdote, brought up the rear, though his usual quips were subdued by the sheer, grinding effort of the ascent and the respectful, almost reverent silence demanded by the sheer scale of the mountains. I, Ethan, navigated between them, meticulously checking our ropes and carabiners, my senses sharpened by the inherent, ever-present dangers of our extreme environment. Each breath was a conscious effort, a burning in my lungs, each step deliberate, etched into the frozen canvas beneath our heavy, specialized boots.
The sun, a pale, distant orb, filtered through the high-altitude haze, casting long, crystalline shadows that danced across the vast, undulating expanse of snow and jagged rock. The silence here was profound, an almost deafening absence of sound, broken only by the rhythmic crunch of our crampons, the occasional metallic whisper of our climbing gear, the mournful whistling of the wind as it sculpted the ice formations, and the occasional deep, resonant creak of shifting glaciers far below. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a powerful, humbling presence that swallowed all trivialities, all the noise of the modern world, and laid bare the raw, elemental essence of existence. The beauty was breathtaking, the kind that steals your words and leaves you gasping, not just from the crushing altitude, but from the sheer, unadulterated spectacle of nature's raw grandeur. Yet, beneath this sublime beauty lay a formidable, unforgiving harshness, a stark, constant reminder of the mountain's indifferent power, its capacity for destruction. Every decision, every piece of gear, every ounce of strength and focus was critical. Survival was not merely an outcome, it was a constant, active, moment-by-moment pursuit, a delicate dance on the edge of the world. By mid-afternoon on the second day of our ascent, our weary team reached a designated waypoint, a relatively flat expanse of scree and compacted snow that offered a temporary, much-needed reprieve from the relentless steep gradients. It was a natural resting point, a small plateau overlooking a dramatic, sweeping valley that plunged into misty, enigmatic depths, a breathtaking vista that normally would have held us captivated for hours. We planned to refuel, rehydrate our parched bodies, and recalibrate our gear before pushing on to our pre-selected campsite a few hundred meters higher up the ridge. The wind, which had been a persistent, biting companion for most of the day, seemed to momentarily abate here, offering a brief, almost serene respite from its relentless assault, a moment of precious calm. "All right, team, let's take 15, Liam called out, his voice a little strained but remarkably steady, his breath pluming in the frigid air. "Water, snacks, and a quick gear check. Chloe, Noah, how are we doing on morale? Anyone see any signs of altitude sickness?" Chloe, despite the frost clinging to her eyelashes and the visible fatigue in her strong features, managed a genuine grin. "Morale's high, Liam. Just dreaming of a hot meal and a proper bed, preferably one that isn't frozen solid." Her humor, though faint, was a welcome sound. Noah, ever the pragmatist, patted his stomach with a gloved hand. "My stomach's declaring a full-blown hunger strike, Liam, protesting the lack of proper sustenance, but the views are a decent distraction from its grumbling."
We unclipped our safety lines from the fixed ropes, the metallic click echoing in the silence, and began to stretch our stiff, aching limbs, each movement a protest against the cumulative cold and exertion. We shed our larger packs, letting them thump onto the rocky, snow-dusted ground, small clouds of snow puffing up around them. Steam rose from our backs, visible in the frigid air as the cold met our sweat-soaked base layers, a testament to the effort we had expended. The process of even taking a break was ritualistic, almost meditative, dictated by years of mountain experience and ingrained discipline. Check surroundings for hazards, secure personal gear, hydrate deeply, and nourish our bodies with high-calorie snacks. My eyes, constantly accustomed to scanning the vast, empty expanse for potential hazards, for changes in snow conditions, for signs of falling rock or ice, drifted across the immediate area, a natural, almost involuntary habit born of cautious mountaineering. That's when I saw it, a faint glint, almost imperceptible, catching the pale sunlight against the dull, unforgiving gray of the scree and rocks, something profoundly out of place. It was near a cluster of larger boulders, shielded somewhat from the direct force of the biting wind, a tiny anomaly, a discordant note in the vast, empty wilderness. My mountaineer's instinct, honed by countless climbs, by years of observing subtle changes in the environment, immediately flagged it. I squinted, trying to make sense of the odd, intermittent reflection. It was a translucent sheen, a ripple of plastic catching the faint sunlight. My brow furrowed in confusion and growing unease. Trash, perhaps? A discarded water bottle or a food wrapper? But who, I wondered, would carry trash this far up to this remote, desolate altitude, only to abandon it? The thought bothered me deeply. We prided ourselves on adhering to the strictest principles of leave no trace, leaving the mountains as pristine as we found them. "Hold on a sec, guys," I murmured, my voice tinged with a growing curiosity, a sense of unease starting to prickle at the back of my neck. "I think I see something over there, by those rocks. A strange reflection." I pointed with a gloved hand, my fingers steady despite the cold. Liam, ever vigilant, his senses as sharp as an eagle's, followed my gaze. "What is it, Ethan? Fallen gear? A piece of the old route?" "Doesn't look like it," I replied, already moving, my boots crunching on the loose scree and patchy ice, my curiosity overriding my fatigue. "Looks like plastic, like a bag or something. It's almost shimmering."
As I approached the cluster of rough, angular rocks, the glint became clearer, more defined. It was indeed a translucent plastic bag, medium-sized, tied tightly shut at the top, a crude knot cinching it with a disturbing finality. My initial thought, fueled by my annoyance at the potential litter bug, was that someone had left their garbage, a frustrating and disrespectful breach of mountain etiquette. My mind conjured images of empty snack wrappers, maybe a discarded empty water bottle, perhaps even a forgotten glove. Annoyed, I reached down, my gloved hand extended, ready to pick it up and secure it in my own pack for proper disposal, chastising the unknown perpetrator in my head.
But as my hand closed around the plastic, as my fingers brushed against its strange contents, a chilling, sickening realization washed over me. This wasn't just a bag of trash. It had form, weight. And as I peered closer through the translucent plastic, my blood ran absolutely cold. A wave of profound, gut-wrenching horror sweeping over me, stealing my breath, leaving me momentarily paralyzed. Inside the bag, huddled together in a pathetic, tiny tangle, were 4 small, white, fluffy forms. Kittens! My mind reeled, struggling desperately to comprehend the impossible. Kittens? Here? In the desolate, icy, airless reaches of the mighty Himalayas? It was utterly, grotesquely impossible. My brain, trying desperately to rationalize the impossible, to find a logical explanation for this surreal discovery, immediately jumped to the most logical, most painful conclusion I could conceive. They were frozen, long dead. Someone had left them here, abandoned them to the elements, perhaps thinking the extreme cold would be a quick, merciful end. The sheer, calculated cruelty of it was a physical blow to my chest, leaving me breathless and dizzy. "Ethan, what did you find? You look like you've seen a ghost." Chloe's voice cut through the fog of my horror. Closer now, her tone filled with mounting concern. I knelt, my knees protesting against the sharp, icy rocks, but ignoring the pain. My gloved fingers, trembling despite the cold, fumbled desperately with the knot. It's Kittens," I choked out, the words catching in my constricted throat, thick with a disbelief that bordered on despair. 4 of them. They're in a plastic bag, tied up. My voice was ragged, filled with an anguish that resonated with the vast, silent mountains. Liam, Chloe, and Noah, drawn by my distressed tone and unusual behavior, reached me within seconds, their faces initially showing curiosity, then swiftly shifting to disbelief, and finally mirrored horror as they too saw the pathetic, frozen bundle within the plastic. "Kittens!" Noah exclaimed, his voice hushed with profound shock and his eyes wide with disbelief. "Up here, in the high mountains. How is this even possible? Who would do such a thing?" "Oh, you poor, poor babies," Chloe whispered, her eyes welling up with tears that quickly froze on her wind-chapped cheeks. She instinctively reached out a gloved hand as if to offer comfort through the plastic. "They must be frozen solid. They can't be alive." But as I finally managed to untie the agonizingly tight knot, pulling open the mouth of the transparent plastic bag, a miracle, tiny and impossibly fragile, unfolded. A faint, desperate gasp of air escaped from within the bag. Then another, and then a small, barely audible mewl, a sound so weak, so full of anguish, so utterly heartbreaking that it pierced through the heavy silence of the mountains and straight into my soul, shattering the last vestiges of my composure. They weren't dead. They were alive. Barely. The 4 tiny, pure white kittens, no bigger than my palm, lay huddled together in a desperate, shivering clump. Their small bodies were limp, matted with condensation from their desperate, suffocating struggle within the confines of the plastic bag. Their eyes, a startling, vivid blue, were wide open, dilated with profound terror and confusion, tiny pinpricks of desperate fear reflecting the vast, indifferent sky above. Their hearts,
I could almost feel them, were hammering frantically against their ribs, a desperate, rapid drumbeat against the overwhelming silence of the high mountains. Their breathing was shallow, ragged, and heavy, each tiny gasp a monumental, agonizing effort for their fragile lungs. They were gasping, literally suffocating from the cruel lack of oxygen in the tightly sealed bag. They had been starved of air, left to slowly, excruciatingly asphyxiate in this frozen wasteland. The cruelty was beyond comprehension, beyond any human understanding, a dark stain on the pristine white of the snow. A wave of overwhelming nausea swept over me, a gut-wrenching realization of the near-fatal predicament they had been in, the agonizing minutes or hours they had spent slowly losing air. They were so incredibly small, so impossibly vulnerable, entirely dependent on our immediate, desperate intervention. We had to act. There was no hesitation, no debate, no moment to spare for internal questioning. The mountaineer's code of leaving no trace now extended, unequivocally, to leaving no life behind. "They're alive!" I yelled, my voice cracking with raw emotion, a tumultuous mix of horror and a desperate, surging, almost overwhelming hope. "They're suffocating! Get them out! Now!" My gloved hands, usually so steady and precise with ice axes and ropes, fumbled frantically, gently yet urgently, pulling the tiny forms from their suffocating plastic prison. Each kitten was impossibly light, fragile, its small body shivering violently, a tremor that seemed to emanate from its very core. As soon as they were free of the bag, exposed to the vast cold air, they began to cry, soft, desperate mewls that tore at our hearts. Small, pathetic sounds lost in the immense vastness of the mountains, yet deafening to our ears, reverberating through our very beings. They were disoriented, weak, their tiny legs splaying uselessly beneath them, unable to support their own weight. "Oh, you poor, poor things," Chloe cried, her voice thick with emotion, tears now freely streaming down her face, quickly freezing in tiny rivulets on her wind-chapped cheeks. She immediately reached for two of the kittens, carefully scooping them up, cradling them gently in her thick, gloved hands, her innate maternal instinct overriding all else, all thoughts of the harsh environment. "They're so cold, so incredibly cold, and so scared. Look at their little eyes!"
Liam, ever the pragmatist, even in the face of such profound, raw emotion, moved swiftly, his mind already assessing the immediate priorities for survival. "We need to get them warm, fast, and get some fluids into them. Noah, Ethan, take the kittens and get to the tent. Chloe, keep them close, share your body heat. I'll break down camp here and catch up with the rest of the gear." The urgency in his voice was clear, unmistakable. These were not just kittens. These were fragile, innocent lives, clinging to existence by the sheerest, most delicate thread. The initial shock, the horror, had given way completely to a fierce collective determination, a shared, desperate mission. Our meticulously planned mountain adventure, our traverse, our ascent, all of it was instantly, unequivocally eclipsed by this unexpected, desperate rescue mission. Nothing else mattered. I gently scooped up the remaining two kittens, holding them close to my chest, nestled against the reassuring warmth of my thick down jacket. Their tiny bodies felt impossibly fragile against my gloved hands, their delicate bones a terrifying contrast to the rugged environment. Their purrs, when they eventually came, were barely audible, more like a faint vibration than a distinct sound, a desperate, instinctual attempt at comfort. Their small, startlingly blue eyes, wide with residual terror, now blinked slowly, taking in the alien, overwhelming world around them, trying to make sense of their sudden change in circumstances. The journey back to our campsite, a short but steep distance uphill, felt like an eternity. Each step was carefully placed, my eyes fixed not on the treacherous terrain, but on the precious, fragile cargo in my arms. The wind, which had briefly lulled, now seemed to pick up with renewed vigor, whistling a mournful, chilling tune around the jagged peaks, a constant, biting reminder of the harsh, unforgiving conditions these tiny creatures had endured. We moved with a speed born of pure desperation, spurred on by the urgent, undeniable need to provide warmth and shelter, to safeguard these tiny lives. Our campsite consisted of a single, robust 4-person tent meticulously pitched on a small, relatively sheltered ledge, partially protected by an overhang of rock. It was our sanctuary, our only fragile refuge against the elements, a small bubble of warmth in the vast cold. As Noah and I scrambled inside, shedding our heavy backpacks and sharp crampons in a flurry of urgent movement, Chloe was already there, gently nestling the 2 kittens she carried into the luxurious folds of her down sleeping bag, offering them her own body heat. The interior of the tent, usually a cozy but Spartan space, filled with the scent of nylon and damp gear, now felt like a desperate makeshift triage unit, its purpose entirely transformed. "Are they still breathing properly? Is their color okay?" Noah asked, his voice filled with genuine concern, as he helped me carefully place my 2 kittens beside Chloe's, completing the tiny, vulnerable huddle. "Shallow, but steady," I replied, my voice a little steadier now, as I gently checked one of the kittens with a gloved finger, feeling for the rise and fall of its tiny chest. Their small bodies still rose and fell with a rapid rhythm, but it seemed less frantic, less desperate than before. The subtle warmth of the tent, however slight in contrast to the external cold, was already making a noticeable difference. The first immediate priority was warmth. We stripped off our outer layers, sacrificing our own comfort, using our spare fleeces, down jackets, and even our thermal blankets to create a lavish, makeshift warm nest in the center of the tent. We gently placed the 4 tiny kittens together, huddling them as close as possible, hoping their collective body heat, augmented by our insulated layers, would help stabilize their core temperatures and ward off the lingering hypothermia. Their purrs, though still weak and almost imperceptible, became a little more consistent, a testament to their incredible resilience, a tiny engine of life revving quietly. Next, nourishment. This was a critical challenge. We were deep in the mountains, our supplies meticulously rationed for human consumption, carefully calculated for our strenuous expedition. We certainly didn't have commercial cat food or even specialized kitten formula. But we had clean water and some emergency rations. Liam, who had just arrived, always thinking ahead, had packed a small, powdered milk container intended for our morning hot drinks and emergency calorie boosts. It was our only hope, our only source of potential nourishment for these fragile creatures.
"We have powdered milk," I announced, rummaging through our meticulously organized food supply bag, pulling out the small tin, "and some bread. It's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something. Boiled water first, to sterilize it, and then we'll mix the milk very thinly." Noah, ever resourceful and quick to action, quickly lit our small portable gas stove, the blue flame flickering brightly and reliably in the dim tent interior, casting dancing shadows. The gentle hiss of the gas and the sound of the boiling water, quickly coming to a rolling boil, suddenly felt like a powerful, life-affirming lifeline. We mixed a small amount of the powdered milk with the warm, sterilized water, creating a thin, milky broth. Then, with painstaking care, we crumbled tiny pieces of our hardtack emergency bread into it, soaking it thoroughly, making a makeshift, nutrient-poor but desperately needed gruel. Feeding them, however, proved to be another significant challenge. They were too weak, too disoriented to lap on their own. We had to improvise to become creative problem solvers. Liam, with his extensive wilderness experience, quickly and expertly fashioned a tiny dropper from the tip of a plastic water bottle cap, carefully piercing a small, precise hole. He then gently squeezed tiny drops of the milky mixture onto each kitten's mouth, holding their tiny heads steady, coaxing them to swallow. The kittens, initially hesitant, their tiny faces wrinkled in confusion, slowly began to respond, their tiny tongues tentatively lapping at the warm liquid. It was a slow, painstaking, emotionally draining process requiring immense patience and the gentlest of hands, but with each successful swallow,
a small spark of renewed hope ignited within us, fueling our determination. "That's it, little ones," Chloe cooed softly, her voice filled with a tender affection, stroking one of the kittens with a single gloved finger, the rough texture a stark contrast to the kitten's soft fur. "Drink up. You need your strength. You're safe now." We spent the rest of the evening huddled in the tent, our own dinner largely forgotten, our focus entirely and completely on the 4 fragile lives we had discovered. The exhaustion from the day's arduous climb was immense, a heavy cloak weighing us down, but it was utterly eclipsed by the profound, overwhelming sense of responsibility we now felt. The kittens, though still weak and incredibly vulnerable, were beginning to show clearer signs of life. Their breathing was more regular, their shivering less violent, less desperate. They would periodically let out soft, plaintive mewls, and then settle back into a deep, exhausted sleep, nestled together in their makeshift nest of fleeces and down. The image of these 4 tiny white kittens, huddled for warmth in our rugged, utilitarian tent, surrounded by the stark, silent, snowy peaks, was surreal, a poignant tableau of profound vulnerability amidst unforgiving grandeur. Liam, observing their slightly improved state with a critical, experienced eye, spoke, his voice serious and resolute. "There's no way we can continue the climb. Not with them. It's too dangerous, too cold. Their chances of survival are too low up here. We have to turn back. First light, we descend. It's the only option." There was no argument, no debate. The decision was unanimous, unspoken, understood by all. Our carefully planned mountain adventure, our traverse, our ascent to new heights, all of it was long forgotten, instantly replaced by a singular, far more important, desperate rescue mission. The mountains had tested us physically and mentally, but they had also presented us with a profound moral challenge, one we wouldn't shy away from, one we would embrace with every fiber of our being. Sleep came in fitful, interrupted bursts that night. Every rustle of the tent fabric, every faint mewl from the kitten nest had us instantly awake, our hearts leaping, checking on their well-being, shining our headlamps into their makeshift bed. The intense cold seeped relentlessly into the tent, but the 4 kittens, nestled deep within our warmest layers, seemed to be holding their own, their tiny bodies radiating a surprising warmth. Their purrs, though still fragile and almost imperceptible, were a constant comforting presence, a tiny engine of life, a soft, vibrating hum in the vast, silent cold, a beacon of fragile hope. The next morning, the mountains were bathed in a cold, clear, unforgiving light. The descent, usually a brisk and efficient affair, was now a careful, deliberate, painstakingly slow operation. We strapped the 4 kittens, securely nestled in a fleece-lined pouch within my pack, against my back, ensuring they were warm, protected from jolts, and positioned to receive some of my body heat.
Liam carried another 2 in a similar fashion, with Chloe and Noah sharing the responsibility of carrying the remaining 2, constantly checking on them, murmuring reassurances. Each step was taken with extreme caution, our eyes not just on the treacherous, icy terrain, but also, more importantly, on the precious, fragile cargo we carried. Our priority unequivocally shifted. The initial plan of a challenging traverse was long forgotten, replaced by a singular, urgent, life-saving mission: get these kittens to safety, to warmth, to civilization, to a veterinarian. The landscape, though still breathtaking in its immense scale, now seemed less imposing, less an objective to conquer, and more of a formidable challenge to overcome for the sake of these tiny, vulnerable lives. The long, arduous descent felt interminable, stretching into what seemed like an eternity. The hours blurred into a continuous struggle against gravity, overwhelming fatigue, and the gnawing anxiety for the kittens' well-being. We took frequent short breaks, meticulously checking on them, offering tiny sips of the milky broth we had prepared, reassuring them with soft whispers and gentle strokes. Their fear was still palpable, their startling blue eyes wide with uncertainty, but a faint glimmer of trust seemed to have replaced the initial raw terror. They allowed us to handle them, to feed them, to comfort them, a fragile connection already forming. Finally, after what felt like an endless journey, we reached the base camp, a small, bustling outpost where our support vehicle, a sturdy 4x4, awaited us, its familiar shape a beacon of civilization. The sight of the vehicle, the promise of warmth and the imminent return to proper medical care was a profound, overwhelming relief. We quickly shed our heavy climbing gear, the cumbersome packs suddenly feeling lighter, and carefully transferred the kittens into a makeshift, comfortable carrier inside the vehicle, ensuring they were secure for the long journey down. The roar of the engine, the rumble of the tires on the rough, winding track was a jarring contrast to the profound silence of the high mountains, but it was the unmistakable sound of salvation, of escape from the unforgiving wilderness. Our first stop, without question, was the nearest veterinary clinic.
It was a small, bustling clinic in a town nestled in the foothills, a welcome haven, a beacon of hope after our harrowing ordeal in the wilderness. We practically burst through the doors, our muddy clothes, wind-chapped faces, and disheveled appearance a stark contrast to the clean, sterile environment of the waiting room. The receptionist, a young woman with a kind, understanding smile, looked at us, then at the carrier, her eyes widening in surprise and concern. "We found them high in the mountains," I explained, my voice still hoarse with fatigue and raw emotion. 4 tiny white kittens, trapped in a plastic bag. They were suffocating, left to die. The clinic staff sprang into action with remarkable speed and professionalism. Within moments, the 4 tiny white kittens were gently whisked away by 2 veterinarians, a male vet with a friendly, reassuring smile, and a female vet with a warm, compassionate demeanor. They carefully placed the kittens on an examination table, their small bodies dwarfed by the pristine white surface. They began their initial checks, their hands moving with practiced efficiency and incredible tenderness. We watched, breathless, our hearts in our throats, as they meticulously examined each kitten, listening to their tiny hearts with stethoscopes, checking their gum color, testing their faint reflexes, peering into their startled blue eyes with an otoscope. After what felt like an eternity of agonizing waiting, the male vet, Dr. Alex, turned to us, a broad, reassuring smile spreading across his face. "Remarkable," he said, shaking his head slightly in genuine disbelief. "Truly remarkable. They're incredibly lucky you found them when you did, and that you acted so quickly. They were severely hypothermic and suffered from acute oxygen deprivation, but structurally, physically, they're surprisingly healthy. No broken bones, no obvious illnesses or infections. They're small, of course, and a little malnourished, which is to be expected, but their little hearts are strong. They're out of the woods, thanks entirely to your heroic efforts." A wave of profound, overwhelming relief washed over us, so powerful it almost brought me to my knees. Ilara and Noah hugged each other fiercely, tears of pure joy now openly replacing the tears of fear and anguish. Chloe simply closed her eyes, a silent prayer of deep gratitude escaping her lips, her body relaxing for the first time in hours. We had done it. We had saved them. "We'll keep them for observation overnight, get them properly hydrated with IV fluids, dewormed, and give them a full nutritious meal," Dr. Alex continued, detailing their immediate care plan.
But I have no doubt they'll make a full recovery. They're little fighters, every single one of them, with an incredible will to live. Over the next few days, we visited the clinic daily, our hearts filled with anticipation. Each time, the kittens were more active, more playful, their tiny white tails twitching with excitement, their purrs growing stronger and more resonant. They were still small, delicate bundles, but their eyes were bright, filled with a newfound curiosity and an undeniable, growing trust in humans. They would climb all over us, kneading our chests with their tiny paws, purring like tiny, well-oiled engines. Their affectionate demands a stark contrast to their initial fear.
They had truly come back from the brink, their harrowing ordeal a rapidly fading memory, replaced by the warmth of human kindness and the promise of a brighter future. The question of their future, however, loomed large. 4 kittens, a whole litter. Who would adopt them? The local animal shelter was already overflowing, struggling to find homes for countless abandoned animals. As the time approached for them to be released from the clinic, I found myself increasingly irrevocably attached to these brave little felines. I couldn't imagine them being separated, losing the profound bond they had forged through their shared trauma and desperate fight for survival. I thought about my small apartment in the bustling city. It wasn't huge, certainly not a sprawling mansion, but it was warm, safe, and filled with light. Crucially, I worked from home a few days a week, giving me ample time to care for them, to nurture them. I had always loved cats, admired their grace and independence. But my lifestyle, full of travel and demanding work hours, hadn't allowed for pets. Now, however, looking at these 4 white bundles of fluffy perfection, their bright blue eyes gazing up at me with absolute innocent trust, I knew, with a certainty that resonated deep within my soul, that I couldn't say no. I couldn't leave them again, not after everything we had been through together. I'm adopting them, I announced to Liam, Chloe, and Noah one evening over a well-deserved celebratory hot meal in a cozy restaurant at the base of the mountains. The decision felt profoundly right, a complete and undeniable calling, the only logical conclusion to our extraordinary adventure. All 4 of them. I can't split them up. They're a family now, a little mountain pride, and they belong together. Liam clapped me on the back with a wide, genuine smile on his weather-beaten face. "That's fantastic, Ethan. Knew you had it in you. You'll be a great cat dad, a truly honorable one." Chloe and Noah cheered, their faces beaming with unadulterated joy. "You're doing an amazing thing, Ethan," Chloe said, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "They deserve a loving, forever home, and you're going to give it to them." The adoption process was straightforward, expedited by the compassionate clinic staff who were thrilled that all 4 would stay together, their little family unit preserved. I filled out the necessary paperwork, answered all the questions about my living situation and commitment, and meticulously prepared my apartment for its new, furry occupants. I bought ample kitten food, an array of colorful toys, a spacious litter box, and multiple soft, cozy beds, transforming my once minimalist living space into a bustling, vibrant feline paradise. Bringing them home was a profound, life-altering experience. I named them Blizzard, Avalanche, Nimbus, and Peak, names that honored their precarious mountainous origins, a permanent reminder of their incredible journey. They explored their new territory with cautious curiosity, their tiny paws padding softly across my wooden floors, their noses twitching as they investigated every nook and cranny. Initially, they were still a bit wary, flinching at sudden movements or loud noises, but the secure, warm environment of my apartment, filled with constant gentle reassurance, quickly began to heal their emotional wounds, allowing them to relax and thrive. They became my constant, joyful companions. Blizzard, the bravest and most adventurous, was always the first to explore, to bat at a new toy, to climb onto my lap for snuggles. Avalanche, a little more reserved and regal, loved to snuggle close, purring loudly and incessantly as I stroked her soft, pristine fur. Nimbus, with her mischievous, intelligent blue eyes, was the playful one, always instigating wrestling matches with her siblings, tumbling across the floor in a flurry of white fur. And Peak, the quiet, contemplative observer, loved nothing more than to sit on my shoulder, watching the world with serene, knowing blue eyes, a tiny sentinel. They thrived beyond my wildest dreams. Their once frail, emaciated bodies grew stronger, plumper, their fur gleaming a pristine, bright white, healthy and vibrant. Their playful antics filled my home with boundless joy and constant laughter, a soundtrack to my days. They would often fall asleep together, a tangled, soft pile of white fur and purring contentment, snuggled tightly on my bed, illuminated by the soft, warm glow of my bedside lamp, a scene of perfect domestic bliss that replaced the haunting memory of their near-death experience. The sight of them, safe and sound, utterly erasing the chilling memory of that desolate mountain ledge,
filled my heart with an indescribable, overflowing warmth and gratitude. We still went on adventures, though now they were much milder and much safer. Short, supervised walks in the local park in a secure stroller, or adventurous explorations of my enclosed backyard. They even sometimes joined me for quiet evenings in my camping tent in the backyard, enjoying the cozy warmth under the soft glow of a battery-powered lantern, gazing at the distant, starry sky, a faint, primal memory of mountains, perhaps stirring within their deep blue eyes. Liam, Chloe, and Noah often visited, bringing new toys and treats, always amazed at the kittens' incredible transformation, at how they had grown into such magnificent, affectionate cats. We would often pose for pictures, them holding the now plump and playful kittens, their pristine white fur a stark, beautiful contrast to our colorful climbing jackets, the snowy mountains of our rescue now a distant, triumphant memory, a symbol of life overcoming adversity. Their story, the improbable, miraculous rescue of 4 tiny, white kittens from the unforgiving, icy heights of the Himalayas, became a powerful narrative that I shared with everyone. It was a poignant reminder that even in the most desolate and cruel circumstances, compassion can bloom, a delicate flower in a harsh landscape. It taught us that heroism isn't always about conquering a towering peak or achieving a record, but sometimes about bending down, untying a cruel knot, and offering a second chance at life to the most vulnerable among us. These 4 little felines, once discarded and left to die a slow, agonizing death, were now living testaments to incredible resilience, boundless love, and the profound, unbreakable connection that can form between humans and animals. They taught me more about unconditional love, true courage, and the intrinsic value of every single life than any mountain I had ever climbed, any book I had ever read. My life, once solely focused on personal achievements, adventures, and academic pursuits, was now immeasurably richer, filled with the soft purrs, the playful antics, and the unwavering affection of my 4 beautiful, white mountain cats. They were, and always will be, my unexpected, incredible mountain treasure, a constant source of joy and a living reminder of that pivotal day. I always have that scene in my mind, and it will shock you too. Please subscribe and comment, "I love cats," and where you are watching us from. By doing so little, we make a big difference. A subscribe, a comment is the same as making a donation, because the video reaches more hearts, more eyes and ears, and we raise awareness for an entire population.